can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense to me, I can make nice or make history. I got that.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dog Waters. I'm back. And man, I'm just dropping a little live stream to holler at y'all. Now, yesterday, I was sharing with some of you guys my philosophies and theories over what I've learned the time period that I've been here involved in this field. And just my data collection and my thoughts on the data that's been collected. Hold on, I need to do something. I'm going to pause for a second and mute so you don't hear all this noise. Alright, I'm back. And so, when we talk about the field of cryptids, I kind of alluded to last night how this field is a gathering place, sort of say, for people. People who clearly have been through trauma. And it's a little bit more than that. When you really take a deep look at it, it's not only a place where people who've been through certain types of trauma gather, it's a place where people come to experience trauma. And what I mean by that is, oh man, I messed up my jacket with a cigar ash hole. What I mean by that is this. There's a significant portion of people who come to this field and they make the decision that they are going to go out and look for these cryptids, and then they find themselves in a situation where they find what they're looking for. They didn't have any trauma prior to it. They were fine. Everything was Gucci for them. And they're like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find Dogman. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find Bigfoot. And then next thing you know, they experience something and they're changed forever. So that's one category of people in this field. Then, this is the most interesting category, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's like, the more you look at this and the more you're in it, you see it. So then there's the people who are field researchers. And that's used loosely. I use that term loosely because, I've only really seen one crew of people that go into the field and actually collect data. There's people who go out in the field that document their experiences with cameras, right? But to be a researcher, you got to go into the field and you got to collect data. There's only one crew of people I've seen that really record data in the field. I'll leave their name out of it because whatever. I promoted them in the past and I still think they're phenomenal, but it is what it is. But then you have people who you can loosely use the term that they're researchers. And here's the thing about the research aspect of it. And we're talking about the people who we loosely call researchers. And I want to pull the scales back from you guys' eyes. Have you noticed, and this is not talking about anybody in particular, because people like to take things you say and make it about them. I'm a man. If I'm going to say something about you, I'm going to say your name. But have you noticed that those who go into the field and do research, the loose form of research, over time, they end up taking on what I would call the characteristics of being possessed by a spirit. Now, some people may say, well, DW, you're tripping. There's no such thing as spirit possession. But when you really look close at it, you'll see that those people's personalities change over a period of time. You'll see their physical appearance changing over a period of time. You'll see that, well, you guys don't know these things because you're not really behind the scenes, but behind the scenes, you'll find that they went from being a non-drug user to a drug user, from a non-alcoholic to an alcoholic. You find all these different tendencies that are associated with going out into the field and doing research. Now, why am I talking about this? Bada bing, bada boom. There's some kind of coming down the pipeline that I'm going to prove some things to you guys on real soon. But it's important that you know this about this field, and it's important that you understand this about the field, because at the end of the day, what we give our attention to is what we invite into our household. The people that we give our attention to are the people that we come into agreement with. I feel like my audio is off. Hold on a second. Just 1 second. I'll be right back. It's not that bad. And so it really boils down to levels of understanding. It really, really does. It boils down to you having levels of understanding of what you're participating in and what you're looking at and what you're seeing. Again, it's important that you know these things for what I'm going to do next. So, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, based on the data that I've gathered, the experiences that I've had in this field, if you see someone going out into the field consistently and religiously looking for these cryptids, you're going to notice changes in their personality. I mean, significant changes in their personality. They'll go from not just their personality. Let me just break it down. You're going to see significant changes in their household. You're going to see significant changes in their physical features. And then you'll see significant changes in their personality. And when those things start to happen and combine, it creates this gigantic ball of chaos. And oftentimes that chaos is displayed in the public's eye. I think that's where a lot of the crazy foolishness comes in this field. And it's dangerous in the sense that I wouldn't say it's dangerous like in a sense that somebody's really going to get hurt. People who talk ain't about doing nothing. But it's dangerous in the sense that it's dangerous for that person and those individuals. And I'm convinced, 100% convinced, that going into the field, searching for these things, allows spirits to attach to you. And it's been quantified and labeled as the hitchhiker theory, because that's what people come up with a name for it. You see that all over the place. Like, oh, is the hitchhiker theory real? Well, absolutely it's real. Hitchhiker being something or someone that catches a ride with you back, the significance thing about being hitchhiker is, if you think about the theory of what happens when someone hitchhikes, the terminology, imagine a scene. You and I are driving down the road. We see someone on the side of the roadway. We pull over. They're there waiting for a ride. We have to give them permission to get in our vehicle. That's what a hitchhiker is. Someone you gave permission to get in. It ain't like a hitchhiker is somebody that you just riding down the road and they appear in your car. It's a thing about giving permission to get in your vehicle. And it's the same concept when it comes to people who decide they're going to go into the woods and they're going to look for these creatures and these entities, and then they come home and they experience all kinds of paranormal, supernatural activity. But nobody explains the hitchhiker theory at its core. The name itself signifies what it is. It's you giving permission. The question is, you may say, well, hey, DW dog, I ain't give nothing permission. Like, I done been in the woods and stuff done followed me home, homie. I didn't tell it follow me home. Well, you actually did when you went. You was coming in agreement when you went out there. Now, if you're going out there and you're not protected in any way, shape, or form, you don't have any covering when you go, then bro, yeah, you come into agreement with it going there. And that's all it boils down to. And so that's the danger of what the researchers, the ones that I call loosely titled researchers, do. Now, the ones who actually collect real data, create like documentary style videos for you to see. They collect wind, they collect time, they collect temperature, they collect those things. They're in the same danger. The difference is they're out there for a specific reason to gather data. And I believe that there's a strong distinction between the two. The distinction between I'm out here with a specific purpose to research, collect data, gather information, and bring it back and present it, versus I'm out here just wandering through the woods and looking. Those who wander through the woods, it seems as if those ones that just go out there wandering endlessly are the ones that have the most significant problems. I mean, huge problems. And those problems often manifest in drug abuse and drug addiction. Now, I've seen it. Many of you have seen it, and you don't know what you're looking at when you see it. Because it's kind of, people do their best to disguise it. But it's a sad thing. It truly, truly is a sad thing. And I'm getting ready to do another story that touches on this. Well, this story that I'm presenting you right now touches on this exact same thing. Someone who calls themselves a researcher, and it's the light version of a researcher. Another word for the light version I call is a worshiper. You intending to go out there and kill one. You're intending to go out there just because you're curious. You're intending to go out there just because you want to see something. Or you're intending to go out there to prove someone wrong. These type of things happen to these people. And it's important that you understand this. It's important you understand this before you decide you are going to go out into the field, quote unquote, looking for Dogman, looking for Bigfoot, looking for the chupacabra, ghost hunting. It really doesn't matter what it is. Understand the theory of coming into agreement with things before you go out there. And I dare to say this. If you're already a bad person, and don't get me wrong, there's bad people on this planet. If you're already a wicked person, don't go. Because they got a special present out there for the wicked. They love wicked people. And the spirits that possess these things absolutely love the savage, wicked people. And the state of being wicked is funny because when you start talking about wickedness, it's not a stationary state. It's a state of mind, a state of being that's in juxtaposition of being a righteous person, right? For me personally, my righteousness comes from Jesus Christ, and it is what it is. I am never going to be righteous. But if you're outside of that righteousness, then there's grades of wickedness. I mean, there's different levels of wickedness. Another thing that you'll find that people experience in this field is strong sexual perversion. People who are quote unquote researchers who have encounters, I'm talking about being complete and utter perverts. Crazy, perverted, insane stuff. Now, that's not just for the researchers. There's been a number of witnesses that I've talked to, and a number of people in the community that I've talked to. When we're doing spiritual warfare and we're just talking to them about things that are going on and things that happen in their life, it's amazing how there's a partnership with pornography with people who are interested in this field. This is grown man and grown woman talk that we're doing right now, not like kitty talk. And it affects their household, and it affects their family, and it affects their relationships. One conversation I was having with a young lady, she said, well, my husband seems to be addicted to pornography, and it affected our life, and it affected our bedroom. And I explained to her, I said, the problem with having that addiction is that over time, it takes more and more exotic stuff to get a person aroused. And so you take a person who's looking at pornography on a religious basis, and you take a person like, maybe a P. Diddy, somebody that's known for really being out there and wild. P. Diddy physically actually went through the acts of doing crazy stuff till he got to the point to where nothing would satisfy him. But through your eye gate, which is an eye gate, which your eyes are the windows to the soul, you've gone through it directly by seeing all these different things. And it's a hole that you dig yourself into, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then nothing really arouses the person. And these are things that I want to share with you guys as we move forward, because frankly, these are the effects of people who pursue this. And I've alluded to these things by sharing it in story and sharing it here and there. But we hit the point now where it's just time just to talk plain about things, and not beat around the bush. So you don't have to tell me if you're going through this. You have to tell me if you experienced this. We did an experiment yesterday where we talked about how people found themselves in this field. If you go back and look at that video, the response is overwhelming. Were you in a broken or weakened state when you found this topic or when you had your encounter? I asked people to put ones in the chat, and we got a boatload of ones. That proves that I know what I'm talking about. You go back and listen to my last call-in show. Off rip, just asked the guy, "Hey man, what condition were you in when you had your encounter?" Blah blah blah. He said, "Man, I had just went through a divorce." It's all in the data. I mean, it's there. I mean, it's there for you to see, and I want your ears to hear the truth as you listen, because there's a lot of stories that people put out. You know, stories over here, stories over there. This person's stuff's fake. This person's stuff is fake, and all the rest of this. But if you understand the symptoms, is what I'll call it, then you can truly tell if a story is real or fake or not, because it's going to have the symptoms. Period. If nobody's presenting you the symptoms that lead to an encounter and the symptoms after an encounter, then there's only two things: either the story's not real, or they don't really care to present you with all of the information. So this brand, the Dark Waters brand, has been built on providing true vetted stories from day one. I think in many instances it was a mistake for growth, but over time I come to learn that I'm not here for me, and that's not why I'm here. So I got to kind of rock with what I got and do what the Lord tells me to do and keep it moving, because it's not about me. Nonetheless, I want you guys to actually see this. That's why there was Dogman 101, 102, 103. This next one is 104 that's coming, because I want you to see it for what it is. Not for what people tell you it is, not for what people monetize it to be. Because there's a serious effect of monetization on this topic. I mean, it really is. Like, if you go back 6-7 years ago, the cryptid Dogman topic, Bigfoot has always been Bigfoot, right? Like, I mean, Bigfoot was the biggest topic in the cryptid world back then. But Dogman has taken off primarily due to the monetization of it and the amount of fanaticism associated with listening to the stories. And that fanaticism is displayed. I mean, it's always on full display when there's some type of conflict, right? I mean, it's insane. Nonetheless, if you've been with me from the beginning, you've seen this. We done been through all the craziness. That none of that bothers me. The point I'm making is if you understand the cult-like aspects of the subject, it only further supports what I'm laying out to you and the evidence that I'm giving you and the words that I'm saying. So there's a spiritual component to this. There's a physical component to it. Broken people, weak people, not necessarily a weak individual. There's a difference between being in a state of brokenness and a state of weakness, as opposed to being broken or weak. And sometimes, in some cases, the person's body is physically broken when they find this. In other cases, they're in a broken state, in a humbled state. Things happen in life to humble us, right? Most people don't understand that, but things happen in life as an opportunity to be humbled and learn and grow. That's the only way we learn and grow, is we go through things. But it's that initial state of growth where people have encounters, find this field, find this subject, and that's what kind of derails them. I wouldn't even call it a derailing. Like, let me paint a picture for you. You're on a train, you're riding down the train track, choo-choo, sugar, 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 choo-choo, right? And up ahead is a fork in the tracks. You can go left or you can go right. But in order for that decision to be made, you should be pulling the lever to go right or go left. Well, you really need to go to the right. That's what you're designed to do. That's what this trial this problem, this issue, this thing that you're facing right now is designed for you to go to the right. But something sparks your interest. It's shiny. It's sparkly. It makes you feel good. And then you start to go left. And then you start to find what you believe is community to the left. Friendship to the left. But you should be going right. That's what the reality, that's what the good stuff is. But you end up going left. The further and further you go down that track, you start to evolve and you start to change. You start to see things differently. And you get to the point. Further down the track you go, you get to the point to where you look back and you realize you're a part of a group that is so far away from what you would normally do that you find yourself confused. How do I know this? Know how? Because I've talked to people and I'll bring it up to you. So when I was going through the conflict with Vic Kunda, by the way, again, congratulations, Vic, on hitting 100,000. I think he's the most consistent guy there is, and I think he deserves 100,000. And he is a pillar in the Dogman community, whether people like him or not. There came a point where I told people, I said, listen, I forgive y'all. Right? Straight up, I forgive you, man. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, import all these emails. I'm not talking about 10, I'm talking about hundreds of emails. Thousands of comments. Just pouring in. And it was people who were saying, man, I don't know how I got to this point to where I give it so much attention and time to something like this. Now, again, I'm not attributing this to Vic in any way, shape, or form because people like to twist things, so I'll be very specific about my words. But people were saying, I don't know how I got to this point. And that's when I really started paying attention to that aspect of it. I'm sitting there, smoking my cigar, reading the emails and saying, there's more than one person that's saying they don't know how they got here. Where is here? What does here actually mean? What are they talking about? So I kept reading. And over time of reading those emails, and I'm not talking about like just once or twice. I'm talking about I read them, saved them, go back and read them again. Just trying to let my mind wrap around what's truly being said and what's behind the words. That's when I came to realize and understand that these were people who found themselves in places with behavior patterns that they would have never thought that they would behaving in ways that they would have never thought they would have behaved. And the significance of that, turning themselves over to emotions and feelings that weren't quite theirs. And that's the best way to sum it up. And it's a turning over. Again, coming into agreement with and turning yourself over to something. I think this may be too deep for some people. Some people just want to hear stories. Some people don't really care to understand the train track that they're riding on. They don't. They don't care. They don't care about the train they're riding on or the destination or what's the destination after that. But I reached the point where I'm just going to tell you like it is. No holds barred, no sugar, no cream. Just dark, caffeine-filled coffee, just like my skin. And I'm just going to tell you like it is. It's a place where people find themselves. And so, if you are listening to me right now, and you're one of those people that realize that you're in that place, turn around and start riding the train back. Start walking back up the track. Because there's an easy way and there's a hard way. I'll mention somebody else. And I'm proud of this guy. And I haven't mentioned him much, but I'm very, very proud of this man. James Tucker, Ball of Nightmares. Anybody who's been here for a while, a long time, know that we was ride or die for a minute. We had a conflict, bada bing, bada boom. Things are said, conversations happen, beefs is squashed. by the way, that's what men do. They squash issues. They don't. Men talk and squash issues. They don't talk at each other. They talk to each other, and that's how you know what. That's how you can tell who's a man and who's not a man. You know what I'm saying? Pardon my language. I'm gonna use the word. You can tell who's a man and who's a bitch by who's willing to talk to each other. All right. So, when he first told me he found the Lord, I was skeptical. It really was. I was like, man, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know you. I know what you did. I know. I mean, not from a job standpoint, what you did for a living. I mean, I know what you did in the spirit realm standpoint. And over time, talking to him, the Lord has found him and changed him in ways that are profound, glaringly obvious. Now he's going through a sacrifice right now, because God demands the sacrifice of obedience from you. So he's going through his sacrifice right now, and I want to encourage him to stay on that road of sacrifice and be obedient to the Lord and let him reward you for that obedience, because quite frankly, his rewards are amazing. But nonetheless, he's an example of what happens when you get to the end of the road. Now, he could have went that way at any point in time in his life. Frankly, I mean, he could have went that way at any point in time in his life. But anybody who knows Vault knows how Vault is. But he got there. And I'm proud of him for getting there. Now, our relationship will probably never be the same, but I'm still proud of him for getting there. And I wanted to say that publicly. Because at the end of the day, your eternal soul is more important than this fleshly body and this fleshly experience. But he's an example of what I mean. And I'll go back and I'll remind you guys, we had Dogman cams running. For the record, I founded dogmancams.com. We get to the point where he has cameras in his backyard, which there was real activity. And there comes a point where he gets hit with something. Nose bleeding, things going crazy, and then things fall apart for him. I mean, really fall apart. And then he goes on this journey with the Lord. I don't want to see other people have to go through that, because it's a tearing down process that you don't have to go through. It's a tearing down and a process and a rebuilding process that you don't have to go through. Now, for me personally, I went through the tearing down process and the rebuilding process prior to YouTube. And my tearing down was prior. My rebuilding was public, which is a very, very different thing to experience. When your rebuilding is being done in the public's eye. But it's suiting and fitting for me and for what I've done in my lifetime. Because a lot of stuff I've done throughout my whole life has been in the public's eye. So I don't get the privilege, or I didn't get the privilege of my tearing down and rebuilding being private. Mine had to be public because of a lot of things I did in the past and the work I've done in the past. But nonetheless, I'm not speaking to you about these things just randomly. I'm not speaking from a hypocritical standpoint. I'm speaking truth from my own experience and experience around of the people around me. And so I want to share these concepts with you kind of as a heads up. Kind of like, hey, look, just take a look around you, see what's up, see what's happening. Make sure you're not getting ready to run into this wall that other people run into. Or if you're standing at the wall and you're staring at the wall and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, you don't have to have your head rammed through it. You can kind of turn around and go the other way. Other way is Jesus Christ. Go that way. Go that way quickly. The faster you go, the less painful it'll be. And that's the honest to God truth. The faster you go in that direction, the less pain you'll experience. Because that's how this system works. That's how God's system of correction works. It's a system that's in place. Oh, buddy, you get corrected. So I don't necessarily want to see people go through it unless they absolutely have to. There's some people, that frankly they're hard headed and God gonna put them through what they gotta go through. Other people, you can turn around and go in the direction you're supposed to. So I want to encourage you to go in that direction. Go in the right direction. Peace out.